Saturday, it's time to kick off the Experts program here on Power Talk Radio, and that means that our tech expert, Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, is joining us here on Power Talk. Luis, welcome back.
Thank you, Mark. How are you?
Doing pretty good. You know, it's Saturday, and Saturday, February 4th, and besides it being one of my sister's birthdays, which I'd better pick up the phone and give her a call, it's day number 3, round 3 of the AT&T Pro-Am. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be out there checking it out. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And by the way, while we talk about tech issues, people that run the Pro-Am have done a great job over the years of being at the forefront of the leading technology for the media people, so that when we go into the media room to set up, they have everything that we need. And I remember when we first started and they first had internet service in the media room down there, Luis, it was all Wi-Fi connections. And the problem that the media guys ran into was that later in the day when the photographers would come in and they would start uploading the photos and everything back to their newspapers or wherever they were sending it, that would just eat up all the bandwidth in the room. And so anybody else that was on the Wi-Fi, you'd get knocked off. And it was just really frustrating. Well, what they've done in the last few years is every workstation has a hardwired Ethernet connection.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now, there's like 150 workstations in that room. So that is not an inexpensive proposal to do that. Now, instead of using the Wi-Fi, you've got a hardwired connection and you've got a consistent speed, and it allows you to do your work, and no matter what anybody else is doing, you're good to go.
They do such a great job for not just the media, but pretty much just trying to make that event state-of-the-art, world-class for the fans, for the volunteers. There's 1,500 volunteers that participate in that, and it couldn't happen without them, and they take care of the volunteers as well. It's a class act. I really like the folks that put that on.
It's first class all the way, and gosh, I've been going out. This will be year number 41, I think, for me going out there.
Wow. So. Dang.
I started when I was 5. No.
Yeah, I was about to say. Did you start right out of your mom's womb? Come on.
There you go. Anyway, Monday, we talked about how Netflix is going to crack down on all of the account sharing. And they're doing this because they say that it's really bit into their bottom line. All these people sharing their Netflix passcodes, and Netflix figures that they probably have so much unrealized revenue out there. Yep. So by the end of March, they're going to be instituting some sort of programs that they've developed that will essentially be able to sniff out how many different places one account is being used simultaneously. Now, what I was curious about was, what about people that own more than one home and they want to use their Netflix at their second home? Are they going to end up being stuck and turned off at their second home? Are they going to have to buy another account? What's the option for people that are in that position?
Well, what will happen is when you log into that, let's say you're traveling, maybe your second home, or you're at an Airbnb, and when you log in, it'll say, hey, do you want me to log you out of the other locations that you're logged in if you want to log in here? So you'll have that option. That just means that when you go back home, the pain will be you have to log back into your account at home rather than just being able to simultaneously be logged in at all those locations. So there's going to be a bit of an interruption, but you'll still be able to do it. It's just going to only let you be at one place at one time.
Okay. Now, does that mean that for people who have shared their passwords with other folks, will that person get the message before you do that'll say, hey, you're logged in at this other place, and they could end up turning off the master account?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Is the answer. Yeah.
So
if your son or daughter has your Netflix password and they're logging in from the dorm and they say, yeah, no, go ahead and disconnect mom and dad, you'll know who did it.
Right. But even worse than that, what if the kids give it to their friends, or you've given it to other people?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I'm sure that Netflix is going to have some mechanism to make that work better. But since we haven't seen it yet, we'll just have to wait toward the end of this month or end of this quarter to see what that looks like.
One would hope, because boy, are the phone lines going to be burning up in the first week of April?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or for quite a while, actually. Hey, our topic du jour today is from, I guess, a story from Axios. Newsrooms reckon with AI following the CNET saga. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about AI producing news stories and displacing journalists?
Exactly. So, we talked in the past about this ChatGPT, which is getting a lot of press for all sorts of reasons. It's basically an AI engine that can provide write all sorts of things, essays. It's actually, I read a story last week that said that it was able to pass the bar exam in one state because it scored a C plus on the essay. But the reality is that where ChatGPT and technologies like it are going to have an impact is going to be in newsrooms, where it can create stories, especially breaking news or that sort of stuff that normally need reporters for. And CNET, which is a online news site, they started using ChatGPT to create stories, and they got caught because one of the things that ChatGPT doesn't understand is plagiarism. So it was copying a lot of content from other stories and producing it on CNET like original stories, and that raised a lot of eyebrows. So they paused using it, but it is something that you're going to see significantly impact a lot of professions that rely on content being generated, because it can do it a lot faster and a lot better. And quite frankly, it's not that much different than what human beings can produce. So that's the fear, that these generative AI tools like ChatGPT will be able to displace a lot of blue collar workers. You know, it's funny because we always thought that the robot revolution would displace blue collar workers, people that worked in manufacturing, for example, but it might be the guys that are working in newsrooms and in other professions that are white collar that they get this.
What's basically referred to as a craft trade, which is what journalism is. And part of what's driving this is the lack of revenue to continue business as usual. In the modern world that we are in, the average person believes information should be free. They don't want to pay for news. They want to figure out how to get behind paywalls. And what the publishers, whether it's newspapers or it's TV, radio stations, news aggregators of any sort, but what news publishers, people that actually have, shoe leather out figuring out what is news and how to cover it. The problem that they run into is the revenue to support the news gathering effort is getting smaller all the time. And yet you still want to have news coverage. So how can you do that? And so this idea of these generative AI tools is what they're looking at. Now, perhaps maybe the way they end up doing it is they use this AI stuff to cover, bigger stories or national or regional stories, and then you repurpose what few human beings you have to go out and cover City Hall and the school board, because that may be the kind of thing that you can't cover with this type of technology, at least at this point.
Exactly. Yeah, I do think that there's a place for those AI tools, and we're going to find where they work best, but you still need human beings, like you said, to do the shoe leather work of going to places and talking to people and interviewing people, because you can't get a chat GPT to do something like that.
Right. All right. Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, has been our guest today here on Power Talk Radio. Online, it's alvareztg.com, @AlvarezTG. That's the Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.